welcome to the Body, Mind, Spirit Show with me, your host, Rita Hurry. Today on the show, I have another special guest. Her name is Miss Freddye, and she is a blues singer. Welcome to the show, Miss Freddye.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's my pleasure. So, at what age did you start singing, and who were your major influences growing up?
I started singing, specific age, I probably was in elementary school. So I had to be probably about 9 or 10, 11, somewhere between there.
Okay.
And it really wasn't any influence. There were a couple neighborhood kids, we would sit around and just fantasize, pretend we're singing in front of thousands of people. And it was whatever the latest songs, music that was out then. But growing up, I started singing in the church at 15. So there were a few gospel influences, but my genre that I mostly sing is blues, but I do a lot of gospel also. And a lot of the blues influences did start out doing gospel. Coco Taylor is one, Etta James, Big Mama Thornton, let's see, Bessie Smith. Oh, gee, the list goes on and on. Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald. I have a lot of influences. So um, that's where I started. And at 15 was the journey, singing in the church choir. And then as time went on, I kept singing in the church choir before I joined my first band in 1996.
Wow. So, when obviously making that transition, like joining the band, did you continue singing gospel with the band, or did it actually transition into blues?
So it was a blues band, and I kept singing in the church. So I was kind of dabbing on both sides. A lot of folks call the music outside of gospel, Christian, spiritual music, they call it secular, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine with me. So fast forward today, not only do I sing blues, I have one of the two bands specifically turns into a gospel band. And so when we're commissioned to sing Christian or gospel music, we turn into the band called the Glory Be Band. So I do both.
Yeah. And I think I love that because almost like you're blending them, but not blending them. So you're actually keeping both your passions of singing both alive
Yes. Yes.
in almost like two different bands. And do you think I mean, or have you tried, has it ever come together? I mean, obviously, sort of like gospel music is sort of like the foundation of like blues and everything else. Do you find that you blend both together ever, or is it always kept pretty separate?
I always blend both together,
Mm,
especially with my second band, because I have two bands. One, we do blues, funk, soul, but the other one, we do blues, classic rock, and gospel. And in our repertoire of songs, there are a couple gospel songs that I include in there because believe it or not, no matter where I sing at, people are wondering, when are you going to do some gospel, do some gospel, do some gospel? And so that's what I've been doing with the second band. I've been trying to incorporate more gospel songs along with blues and classic rock. And people don't care. They
yeah,
they don't care as long as they hear that side of me, which I at some point in my life here, by the grace of God, I plan on putting together a gospel album, all original, maybe one cover, but it's definitely going to be all original.
awesome. I love that. It's great. So you are a cancer and COVID survivor. Praise to God. Can you
Yes.
share with me just a little bit about this journey, how you pulled yourself through this difficult period in your life?
Um, being a nurse and working in surgical oncology, uh, my cancer bout was breast cancer both times. And I had pride myself on doing the breast exams. And the first time I was diagnosed, it was found by accident. I went to see my gynecologist for one thing, and he said, by the way, when's the last time you had a mammogram? I'm like, no, I think it's about a year if I ever had one, you know. And he said, I think you need to get a mammogram based on your family history of cancer. So went for the mammogram, but the issue I went to see him for all of a sudden stopped. I had no more issues with that. And so that was June of 1998. And by September, um, I had my first surgery, my right mastectomy. But when I found out about, you know, when it came back positive for cancer, I cried for 24 hours.
Yeah, wow.
And it was very tough. And being a nurse, I should have known better. But, you know, it's very different when you get a cancer diagnosis because one, how long do you have to live? Number two, how bad is the cancer? Meaning, has it spread? Am I going to have to worry about it? What, is it aggressive enough that it's going to spread at some point? Do I need chemotherapy? Do I need, you know, surgery? Do I need both? Radiation? Everything went through my head until after 24 hours, my mom called me and I was just bawling my eyes out. You know, I was so angry. I was depressed. I was sad. I went back and forth. And yet, you know, she said, you know, you have to remember you have your kids to think about. She's got to think about the kids. And then after we hung up, you know, I said, she's right. So I had been praying ever since my oldest was born, and he's 45 now. And I still pray every day. And I went into prayer and I said, well, okay, God, if this is what I'm supposed to go through, if this is my journey, here we go. And I said, but I know you're telling me it's going to come back again and I'll be ready next time. And so I went through the surgery, was 12 hours on the table. I didn't have to have chemotherapy, nothing else. And 5 years later, after that, I called my surgeon up. I need an appointment to see you because I think my cancer's back. So his office got me in. He said, oh no. I said, oh no, it's back. It's in the left breast. Believe me. I said, my left breast just feels different. I think it's back. He biopsied me and I had taken off, I took vacation time the following week. Um, and he called me and said, it's back. When do you want to have surgery? I said, how's your schedule the following Wednesday? So he got me in and I had surgery. And at that time, developed infections. I did have to have chemo, but it was months down the line, which they really don't like to wait that long. They like for you to heal about 6 weeks, make sure you're in shape, but mine was a little bit longer. And I was stubborn. But, you know, I went back to work. I scheduled my chemo versus work, and I went through it. And that was 2004. I'm getting kind of choked up because I had like a great team. But my oncologist said, you know, this has been 10 years I've been following you. I'll see you when I see you. And I said, no, you won't. You won't see me again.
Yeah,
So it's been since 2014, you know, the last time that I saw him. And it was a journey. And I understand how what patients go through, being on the other side, even though I took care of the
yeah.
same kind of patients. And COVID was interesting because I've had it 3 times. And I tell you, it's no joke. The first time I had it, I said, what is this?
Mm,
You know, it was
yeah,
that
yeah,
first year. It was like, oh my God, I was sick for like weeks, didn't know what it was. And the second time I had it, I said, oh, here we go. Third time I had it, I said, oh, here we go. But I've had some effects, even though I've had the vaccines, I've had some effects like my heart rate and everything. So I had to be on medicine for that, and I'm on it for the rest of my life. So, but yeah, that didn't bother me as much as having cancer. Totally different for me, totally different.
yeah. I mean, when obviously you got your first bout of COVID, was that actually during the whole when it like, the whole pandemic was first hit in like all over the globe? Was it then that you got it all? Because a lot of people started to develop it sort of in the second bout and the third bout sort of thing, and then it just
Yeah, I got it the first time, like actually a month before my city had to shut down. So we had to shut down the second week in March of 2020, and I got it February. And it was just, I thought I had like some kind of pneumonia flu combination because I was short of breath. I had no energy. I was always tired, had this cough, but I didn't realize it was COVID.
yeah.
And, till like months later, weeks later, they're talking about COVID. These could be your symptoms. I said, oh, great. So I've had COVID. And back then it wasn't testing out yet to see if if you had COVID or not. So yeah, it was that first round. And then I went through the periods of the second round and then the third round of COVID.
Yeah, gosh. I'm just thinking, when you were talking about the whole, cancer ordeal, when you first of all, there were two things that came to me. First of all, at the beginning, when you were going to see your gynecologist about something completely different,
Hmm.
and but then that suddenly stopped. That went once you found out, that obviously no, it's actually cancer that you've got.
Yes. Hmm.
And I just felt that God had brought you to that point then to the office for you to have that appointment for this to be caught and just used something else in your body to get you there. That's the
Yes.
initial thought I had.
Yes. And that was the thought that I had like months down the line. And I said, okay, God was definitely telling me something, because I call it ripping and running. I was so busy. And I usually try to take care of myself, but I was kind of ignoring myself. So I call it God throws bricks at me to get my attention.
Sometimes he has
And
to do that to us.
sometimes he has to do it. To me, it's been all the time and it still happens. But I pay more attention, I'm more aware. But you're absolutely right. I've talked to friends, who they say, do you think that was God trying to tell you something? I said, absolutely,
Mm,
without a shadow of a doubt. I said, I don't question that. That's why if something goes on with my body or spiritually, something with me, mentally, emotionally, I said, that's a sign. And people call it God winks. And
mm.
that's what it is. It was a God wink. So,
Yeah, yeah. And also just hearing you when you were saying, okay, I need to think about this. Am I going to get
mhm,
chemo? Not. And all these big decisions. And I think many overlook at what big decisions someone who has been told they've got cancer has to make in spite of just actually finding out you've got cancer.
right.
All these, and it's not something that I hate. I'm an expert at it. I mean, okay, obviously I know with your nursing background, but just any human being just having these decisions to make about their health all of a sudden, like it just, yes, you broke down in tears, which, yeah, is understandable, but how did you maneuver all those decisions in your mind to just, I mean, I know obviously your mum said think about your children. Was it that got you thinking, what option should I take, or how should I set this out, or how did you come to the decisions that you came to about your your medical plan and seeing this through?
So, after I hung up from my mom, I mean, this is just like it happened yesterday. I remember it so vividly. Um, I went into prayer, and it was a very long prayer. I think that was one of the longest prayers I've ever done in my life. And I
Mm,
asked God, I said, okay, I know I'm supposed to go through this. So I'm no longer sad, depressed, or angry. I'm a little afraid, but I know you got me. And I just had this long talk and prayer with him. And being the person that I am and the nurse that I am, I already knew the surgeon that I wanted. And actually, it was two surgeons involved, one that did the mastectomy, and then I had the breast reconstruction afterwards. And I knew what hospital I wanted to have it done at. And because I was familiar with, already these providers, these healthcare workers. So I was very comfortable. I had no fear. Now, mind you, I've been put to sleep before for surgery, but this was a 12-hour surgery on the table. And I said, okay, they tell you not to be afraid when you go under anesthesia, for good reason. And, I tell people, I said, it's like you're being put to sleep. You just don't dream. And I said, okay, I'm going to pray about this. And, I asked God to work through the surgeons, the nurses, the anesthesiologists, the whole team, people taking care of me afterwards. And, I tell people I wouldn't call it a miracle. I would call it like God, I actually put myself in his hands. Like I
Yeah.
always tell people, God has these unchanging hands. And it's very, very true. And I felt very comfortable. But what gave me the incentive to be like, he really got this? Some of the residents didn't know my given name and they just knew me by Freddie. And when they found out, saw me, I saw this look of like, oh my God. And I said, I know that look. What's the matter? Especially the chief resident. He was very good. He would come and see me morning, noon, and night after my surgery. And I was in the hospital almost 10 days because of other things, other complications I was having. And he said, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I said, why? He's like, I didn't realize it was you. I said, of course not. I said, you all weren't supposed to know my real name. I was trying to joke, but he wasn't. I said, oh, come on. I said, whether I live or die, it doesn't matter. I said, I am comfortable with whatever's going to come next. I
Mm.
said, because I've already prayed about it. I'm at God's hands. I don't know what your religious beliefs are. I said, but you all got me, but it's through God's, grace and mercy that he's got you. And so, what was really interesting, and I tell people, I didn't take it as a joke, but I started counting backwards, 199, 98. And then next thing I know, somebody was waking me up and said, it's time to wake up. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. Let me start over and counting. And they were laughing at me in recovery. I said, what's the matter? They're like, you're in recovery. It's 12 hours later. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, oh my
Wow.
God. I said, that's the best sleep I had. And they started laughing at me. I said, you sure? I said, because I feel like I'm still going down, to the operating room. And they just laughed. And I said, okay. I said, that's God just, saying you kind of need to like smile a little bit and laugh because you had people worried about you. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that journey, I tell that story not often, but to let people know that I'm human, whatever that's supposed to mean. But I'm also a believer, and it's
Mm.
whatever God has intended. It's whatever. I accept it. I move on. I go on. I said, because I can't, because it's just not about me at the end of the day, because my motto is what I do is not for me to keep.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. And that is so true. And I think, I mean, my next question
Mhm.
to you was going to be about faith, um, how your faith sustains you through that difficult time. And you've just answered that because it is about just completely handing yourself over to God and just saying, God, I mean, I do it with myself, my business as well. It's just like, you're the CEO,
Right,
you're in charge. I'm just here as a
right.
vessel to get your message across, really. And I think we're all vessels, really. And obviously God has you speaking to people through so many different ways, either through podcasts or, through your music.
Hmm.
Has your
Yep.
music changed since this journey, like in terms of the writing, in terms of the message you come across with your music?
I think my music has changed dramatically throughout my years since I started singing in 96 because I have people that write music for me, and it's kind of interesting. Those folks are musicians themselves, and they have gotten to know the kind of person I am because I love singing gospel. I also love singing about giving back, like to my roots. And I also love singing about love song. I love singing love songs, I should say, about people's relationships, people's, their timing in life, so to speak. And my job as band leader of both bands is I have to know the venue and know the type of crowd. And I've gotten to do that. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but I know my crowd. Say if I'm singing at a festival, say like yesterday, well, what I sing at the festival, I'm not going to go sing at, a smaller venue. It's going to be different. I'm going to approach it differently. And I try to sing the music that I sing as if I'm singing to an individual.
Mm.
Everybody in the audience, they are individuals, even though you're singing to them as a whole, because, and what I mean about that is people will come up to me, a few people, depends, maybe one or two or more at each time I sing, and say, I remember that song that you were singing. That one song you sang about, like, I really can relate to that. And I said, I've done my job. I've reached somebody. You know, something is going on in their life, and this is what I'm supposed to do. They needed to hear this at this time. And I'm also a storyteller, although my bandmates give me 30 seconds. So I'm not allowed to, like, they're like, you talk too much. Bring it down to 30 seconds, and that's okay. I get it. But I had to learn that because I didn't know that. So this music journey, I'm still learning, although I've been doing it since 96. So, and that's okay. But that's important to me that people connect to what I'm bringing to the table for them musically.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I mean, obviously you're doing so much because you're a nurse, you're also doing your music as well. And I understand you do some charity work, is that correct?
I do. And I did a lot of charity work for like veterans. And then I've done Toys for Tots at one time or another. But now my charities, I do something, and I'm not going to be in that charity event this year because of a scheduling conflict. But every year in Leechburg, Pennsylvania, here in the States, there is an event called Pink Day, and it's held in September, although Breast Cancer Awareness Month is in October. But Pink Day is every third Saturday in September. And what it does is that event raises money for breast cancer awareness and raises money for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And I've been in it ever since it started. I want to say this is probably the 11th year. I won't be in it this year, but the woman that spearheads it, Sherry Jackson Price, she's awesome. And she actually ended up getting breast cancer herself. So, that was a moving experience for her. It was a challenge, but she kept on putting this event together. She's done it every year, and it's a huge event where it's made national news here in the States. And then the other event that I do, help raise money for this playground for kids because I love singing to the kids. The kids love what I do. Um, and it's called Rockin' the Roosevelt. I do it every year, and I've been doing it since their inception, I think 2015, if not longer. They raise money for this playground so that the kids in the area of Arnold, Pennsylvania have something to do. And I do something, I just took on this charity maybe a year or two ago. It's called Back the Blue. And it's in lieu of some fallen police officers who were killed in the line of duty, raising money, raising awareness, for foundations that were and scholarships that were started in their name. So I do that. And, I've had family in law enforcement, military. It's my honor to do that. And every now and then somebody will ask, hey, can you come and, sing if they're trying to raise money for someone who is going through, some kind of illness like cancer or needs surgery or something. So I'll do that as long as I can fit it in my schedule. But
Yeah.
knowing me, I move the earth to move my schedule to do things like this. It's a little tricky, but it gets done. So that's what I do. There is a program because I'm a surgical oncology nurse by trade, and I deal with pancreatic, colon, and rectal cancer. So there is a program here called Music Smiles, and it's the Sonny Pugar Memorial Foundation. Sonny Pugar was a drummer who passed away years ago of pancreatic cancer, but his wife, Annie Pugar, still carries it on. And she commissions local musicians to go around to the local hospitals, nursing homes, to sing to patients. It's about an hour, hour and a half. And I've done it at a couple hospitals, but I have to tell you, my favorite all time, no matter festival, church, whatever place to sing is our children's hospital. I love singing there. I haven't sang there since the pandemic because the month before we shut down was my last show there. And I tell you, there was a little girl there and her parents, and I was doing one more song, and it's called I Can See Clearly Now. So I started singing, and then, I had this long cord, microphone cord. So I went over, I said, you want to come up and sing with me? And she's shy. I said, come on, it's just me and you on stage. Forget everybody else. Who cares? Pretend we're like in a stadium and there's like a million people. And she's like, her eyes got big and started singing. And that was a 9-minute song. I timed it. And her parents were like smiling and she's like singing along with me. And I looked around, it was in the atrium of the children's hospital. And I looked up and there were people, standing there, tapping their hands, tapping their feet, moving their head. And I said, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I just love singing at children's hospitals. So hopefully I get a chance to go back and sing there again.
Yeah, I just love that. It's again, is you're just there's the enjoyment in it. It's not like, yes,
Hmm.
there is the finding time, but the
Right,
time comes because you're just doing something you love to do, connecting with people, giving and sharing. And when it comes to giving and sharing, it's the time and the busyness just kind of moves away, doesn't it? It's like
right.
it's you and where you're at and what you're doing for the
Hmm.
love of doing it and the raising of the awareness and money for funds for these people to help them. And I just think that's beautiful. And I'm sure you will inspire a lot of people into, yeah, I need to do some more charity work. I need to give back because that's beautiful. You're no matter how busy you are, you make time for others. And that's to me, that's it's the whole God-given feel of love, as Jesus
Right.
would love and give to others, you're
Uh,
giving back as well,
yeah,
even though
yeah,
you've suffered in life. And I think that's so beautiful that I
yeah.
just want
Thank
to
you.
share that
Yeah.
bit with you. I mean, I know obviously yourself personally, you have a child that is autistic, and
Hmm.
that is also something that you've got to manage as with everything else. I mean, how does your faith help you manage everything that's going on in life? I mean, what would you say to someone who's got so much, but they've been inspired by what you do? And it's like, how can I add a bit more charity work into what I do and help more people, even though I've got so much?
What I tell people, that saying from the Bible is God would never give us no more than what we can bear.
Mm,
And if it is in your heart's desire And I don't do the charity work just so I can feel good. I do the charity work because it's the right thing to do. And it's what I want to do. And it's what God's commissioned me to do because He's been there for me. He is always there for me. Even if there's times that I just turn my back, and I have put him aside, and he had to bring me about to let me know, no, you're still going to need me no matter what you're doing, whether you're, up on this highness in life or this lowness in life, you're going to need me regardless. And he's absolutely right. And so I tell people, if you're going to do something, do it from your heart. Yes, you're busy. I'm busy. I'm super busy. It had to be God speaking through people because I'm telling you, for the last several years, if somebody wants me to do something, whether it's to play at their venue or do a charity event, what comes out of their mouth, it's like clockwork. Oh, I know you're busy. And I'm like, why do I keep hearing this a lot lately? And I said, wait a minute. Okay, let me take a step back. That was God speaking through these people. All
Mm.
right, I need to do something. I need to pay attention. I need to listen. So that's what I did. I make time. And I have to tell you, a couple months ago, like I just felt so overwhelmed about my busy life with work, with my son, who's no trouble at all. He's pretty much self-sufficient, and then with the two bands that trickled down to three other acts. So that's five things I was managing, and I said, you know what, Lord? Okay, what now? All of a sudden, I had this weight lifted off my shoulder, and I said, okay, I might be busy, but okay, He got this, and I can do this. And that's how I feel. I no longer feel anxious. I no longer feel like I need to go crawl in a corner and shut the world off from me. I don't feel
Mm.
like that. So I tell people to open your eyes, open your heart, and take a step back. And if you have to go to God in prayer, go to God in prayer because He's going to lead you. You may think, oh no, not this path. I don't. Yeah, but you know what, at the end of the day, He's trying to tell you something. You may have to go through something to get to something that you're supposed to be doing or thinking about or have in your life. So that would be my advice to people out there.
Amen. I love that because, I can resonate with that in terms of my own personal journey. I've, come back to God after leaving the fold, as I call it. And it's like, but God was always there. It was like
Hmm.
He was always there, just like, you're coming back. I love you.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm there. And
yeah,
it
yeah.
just, and then when it did, it was like, why didn't I do this sooner? But then the
Hmm.
timing has to be right because I had to go through what I went through to be much stronger in my faith and to be like, yes, this is the way that I'm gonna go God's way and be a lot more stronger in my faith. And it's just taken a whole new turn. And it is about opening your heart and just trusting that you're being led by God. And whatever God tells you, like whatever direction, He will give you the energy, He will give
Right.
you the time, and it will just appear without us trying to work out our schedule in our diary. So I love that. And I can totally resonate with what you've said. You've given us so much, Miss Freddie. So is there a final piece that you'd like to share with the listeners and viewers, like a bit of any advice, any tips regarding faith, regarding music, regarding anything that you feel you want to share with the listeners and viewers today?
What I want to say is always hold on to your faith, no matter if you're at your highest or no matter if you're at your lowest. Go into prayer, whether it's a minute prayer, a 30-second prayer, or a 2-hour prayer, no matter what you do. Always keep yourself in your faith because you're going to be tested every single chance the devil thinks he's going to be there. Because guess what? He's a liar. He's never been truthful and he ain't trying to be truthful now. It'll sound truthful, but mm-mm. And as far as music, I tell people If you want to listen to my music, you can find me on the music platforms from, Apple Music to YouTube to iTunes to Spotify. And I just don't sing to be singing. I sing because somebody out there needs something, no matter what it is. I have all kind of music. I have gospel music on the platforms. I have blues. I have love songs. I said because it's important. Because maybe somebody out there doesn't have the same kind of faith that I do, that you do. But
Mm.
what matters at the end of the day is that they develop some kind of spirituality, some kind of faith, where they can be given hope. Because in our world today, I tell you, some people are like, well, what is hope anymore? And I said, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. It'll come at you when you least know about it. So, yeah, that would be my advice to people out there. I'm not trying to be all preachy, like some people do. And I'm no faith healer and I'm no minister, although there is a pastor that's trying to get me into the ministry, which I'm okay with, but that time has to come when God feels it is. So that would be my advice. And they can find me on missfreddie.com, you know, check me out. It's
Just
nothing
answered
bad,
you,
just
you
all
just answered
entertaining.
my next question. I was actually going to say, where can people find you? So brilliant. So that's missfreddie.com, right?
Yes. And I'm on Instagram as Freddie Stover's Blues. And then you could go to my Facebook page, Miss Freddie, and just like what I do. And the one thing that I love to do, I love supporting artists no matter what style of music you're doing because it's important. Just remember to keep hold of yourself. Don't sell your soul
Mm,
because at the end of the day, you might be a little bit disappointed. You might be 15 minutes of fame and then that's it. Just
yeah,
always remember to keep yourself, let God keep you in his unchanging hands.
yeah. I love that. Thank you so much, Miss Freddie. You've been an amazing guest, very inspiring, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners are going to take a lot from this. So thank you for
You're
being my
welcome.
special guest. Well, everyone, that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.